like, wait a minute, is Sky Zaddy a deadbeat? Like, what was he trying to say? Anyway, okay, so I am back with my recap of Fate, the Winx Saga, Season 1, Episode 5. Okay, so the episode opens with Dowling, I guess, trying to read Beatrice's mind. Beatrice is putting on this whole show about how she's in all this pain. Even Silva eventually chimes in and says, "You're hurting her."
You're hurting her.
And Dowling had to explain to him that basically what she was doing was not evasive at all, and that it's all an act.
What I'm doing is pushing through her mental defenses. It's painless.
Once Beatrice realized that Dowling wasn't going for it, she then chose a different route, and basically told her that she was going to basically use the victim card. As far as anyone knows, you can hear Beatrice screaming from outside the school, so you can assume that a lot of the other students can hear it as well. They don't know that it's an act. At this point, their perception is going to be that they basically tortured her, and she's saying that in the event that she disappears, and all people are ever going to know is that she was tortured and then she just vanished. And so at that point, Dowling stopped, her and Silva left, and then you flash to Bloom, who's standing outside, and Dane basically walks up to her, and he knows that she wants to see Beatrice. They basically conspire, like on his shift when it's time for him to stand guard, that he would let her in to speak with Beatrice. Okay, so then you flash to Sky and Bloom. They're fighting a burned one, and then you realize that it's a training session. And then you flash to the other specialists and fairies, and as you can see, the school is on high alert. They're really trying to get everyone in tip-top shape. I guess the idea is to pair a specialist with a fairy, and so they're all kind of working together and trying to master controlling their abilities, and I guess they're fighting. So Dowling, Silva, Musa, and Aisha, they're kind of walking through, kind of seeing everything that's going on. Musa makes the comment that, she is basically there to kind of read Sky and Bloom, mainly Bloom, because at this point, they're still trying to find out what happened on that trip with Beatrice. And, Sky then talks about how she wished that she could be more involved. And of course, they're telling her that her power is adds a lot of value to them, because it's basically helping them to determine who's going to be able to step up to the plate and basically who's not. So Tara is there. I guess they're all taking a break. Tara was initially sitting by herself. Riven came out to sit next to her, and he gave her a compliment about how she looked good out there as far as using her powers. And then, she told him how sorry she was about Beatrice. She knew that her words were close.
I'm sorry, I know that you and Beatrix were close.
And eventually Dane walks up and he starts clowning Riven. I guess Riven didn't do as well as he could have. I guess he's distracted about what's going on with Beatrice.
You should go for our Faye's Got Talent.
And then he walked off. And so, of course, Tara is like, okay, what was that about? And he's like, of course, he can't miss an opportunity to be an asshole. So he ends up saying, I don't know what it is. He's been, I think I created a monster. I think that he has a thing for Beatrice. I forget the term. It wasn't a gay thing. Like, is he really gay? Or basically, he was telling Tara that Dane is gay.
Still got like a hard-on for her. A weird gay hard-on.
Of course, at this point, she did not know that, and you can see on her facial expression, like, okay. And then, of course, he was like, well, I have to go.
Well, see you in a bit.
So he did that shit to her on purpose. So Sky is once again talking to Silva, and he's talking about how he paired him with Bloom on purpose, how it looks, obvious, and basically Silva's telling him that they really need to know what Bloom knows, and they really need him to stay close to her, and it's important for basically the greater good. And you can see that Sky is having his conscience is getting the best of him. So Sky eventually walks off, and Silva ends up having this flashback of, I guess there was this training session that he was having with Sky's father, Ben, and Dowling. And the comment came up about, at least Silva made the comment about about Sky's father spending more time with him.
You know how useful Sky is. When was the last time you saw your son?
So I'm like, wait a minute, is Sky Zaddy a deadbeat? Like, what was he trying to say? Anyway, Rosalind appeared, so this is when Rosalind was still in control of the school. And, you know, she basically told them, she was telling them it's taking them too long to defeat the burned ones, and she wants them to basically get it under 2 minutes. I mean, that was basically the gist of that. Okay, so shortly after this flashback, you see you see Silva and Ben in Dowling's office, and they're actually watching the training, the playback. I guess somebody was recording the training, and they're concerned because it doesn't look like, you know, the students are going to be ready for when things go down. And eventually Marco walks in. He's clearly injured, and he has been scratched by a burned one, but he felt like, you know, everything's gonna be all good. Nora is still out there. I guess she's the second just under him, so he has every faith in the world that she's going to find the one that scratched him, and he's going to be fine. But he did let them know that there was more than one.
We were taught that the burn ones are solitary hunters. 2 of them traveling together.
And so they're realizing that there's something else, you know, going on here. And he also tells them that the Solarians, they pulled their soldiers.
They pulled their troops from the battalion.
What?
So this was news to them as well. They didn't realize that they were down however many hundreds or maybe thousands of soldiers. And they're trying to figure, okay, well, why would she do that? And why would Queen Luna do that and not say anything? So back in the dorm room, you know, they hear this loud crash. They go into Stella's room, and this plant, the pot and everything fell on the floor and shattered. And so they're like, okay, what is going on here? But they kind of brushed it off. Aisha went back into her room, and she saw that Bloom was texting Dane. And, you know, of course, she started talking to her about how, you know, if there's something going on, that you could talk to me. I know that you're struggling.
You can talk to me about anything. It's between us.
And basically, Bloom was like, well, you know, I'm just gonna go and get some air. Like, she was finding a reason to leave. Dane was basically texting her, letting her know that his shift is started, and that, you know, if she wanted to talk to Beatrice, she should probably come on right now. So as she left, of course, Aisha went in to talk to Musa and Tara, and basically was like, something's going on with Bloom. Why is she texting Dane all of a sudden? So Bloom is now in talking to Beatrice. She did admit to killing Cullum, but she did also tell her that Cullum wasn't just some innocent bystander, that he was working with her as well, and the people that, you know, that sent her there. And Beatrice basically told her that Rosalind basically have all the answers that you wanted, and I can help you, but you're gonna have to help me basically get these braces off and get out of here. And, you know, Dane has this amulet and the instructions on how you can make that happen. And so as she was leaving, Dane ends up giving her this book and this amulet. And, you know, she was already told that she would have to go to the stones to charge this amulet, and the whole process on how to do that. And I was, you know, of course, the question, everybody was like, well, why is Dane helping her? And so she asked Dane, and he said that she was the only one that basically accepted him for who he was.
She's the only person here who ever made me feel like being different was a good thing.
And I thought, okay, that's odd, because basically nobody really knows you. You were kind of closed off. I mean, the only person that you kind of drooled over was Riven. And, you know, so I was like, okay, this is kind of stupid. Like, nobody really got to know you because you never really opened up to anyone. So I thought that was kind of odd that he's like, she's the only person that accepted me. I mean, she's the only person that really knew. I mean, aside from Riven, who's an asshole. And he asked, I think Bloom, and Bloom was like, you know, she has the answers that I need, and I want to know where I come from.
Yeah, Beatrix is the only one who's given me answers.
So, okay. that seems more reasonable than Dane's response as to why he would be helping Beatrice. I thought, okay. So the next morning, Aisha woke up to Bloom throwing some stuff in a bag, and she skedaddled. She was moving pretty fast to get up out of there. And of course, Aisha, her antennas are already up, trying to figure out, okay, what does she have going on? Around this time, Sam walked up, and they eventually made it back to Musa's dorm room. And I guess she wanted to get down with the get down, but then he was kind of like feeling like something else was going on. And she basically, Musa feels like, because Musa doesn't have an active power, and active meaning like a water, or she can't, hers is based on emotions and feelings. She doesn't have, like, she's not a fire or water, and so she feels like, you know, she wants to be in the fight, but she doesn't have, her power isn't such that she felt like would be useful. And of course she could always train and become a fighter, but but they are, you know, basically telling her that, you know, her power is, you know, she is powerful, but just in a different way, and she is kind of having a hard time dealing with that, especially when her other friends are gonna kind of training to be in the fight. You know, eventually they decide, you know, they go on a get down with the get down, and then next thing you know, the plant started moving. One of the other plants, so clearly they're in Stella's room at this point. I think they're in Stella's, and one of the pots started twisting and moving and smashed on the floor, and the mood, I guess the mood was lost. Sam left because Moose was saying how she had to get back to the training ground, and as soon as he left, Musa basically called out Stella.
Want to come out now?
So Stella was there. She's been able to advance her powers, and now I guess bend light around her so she can make herself invisible. Okay, so Bloom's at the stones, and she's using the book to charge this amulet that Beatrice needs to take the magical cuffs off of her. So of course, while she's in the middle of doing that, Sky arrives, and of course he decides that he's going to spill his guts and tell her that Silva only paired them together so that he could spy on her. And
Silva wanted me to watch you.
How he doesn't want to keep secrets from her and this whole thing. Okay. He ends up seeing the book and the amulet, and then she proceeded to tell him about Ardel. So while Bloom is telling Sky about Ardel, it's kind of flashing back and forth between Musa and Stella in the dorm room, and Dowling and Queen Luna in her office. And so Stella is basically saying that how, you know, her mother has always been hard on her.
And the second I got home, it just started again.
And how, you know, her mother only respects power and feel like people, that they should only project power and, I guess, authority, and how she ran away a few days ago.
Ran away a couple of days ago. Mum probably has the whole army out looking for me.
And how she knows that at this point her mother has the military looking for her. And around this time it's flashing back to Dowling, and she's having Queen Luna is, I guess, projecting herself. She's not actually there. And they're talking, and of course Dowling asked her why she pulled the soldier.
The problem is getting worse. Why did you withdraw your troops?
And Dowling and Luna is saying how, you know, well, you know, I didn't see it as a big deal, since how that's what you do. You train, you train fighters.
And our fear is not defenseless. You are training the students to fight.
You know, like you were supposed to train my daughter.
Isn't that what you were supposed to be teaching my daughter?
And so, of course, there is some animosity between Dowling and Queen Luna, and basically Dowling was like, okay, so is this some sort of punishment for me not rehabilitating your daughter the way you thought that she should have been rehabilitated?
Some sort of punishment for not rehabilitating Stella in the way you wanted.
And Queen Luna basically said that there are other things that we have to concern ourselves with other than your school.
The realm has more concerns than just your school, Farah.
And they parted ways. So basically, it is. You know, she is bitter, and she is basically using her power and her authority to basically stick it to Dowling and the school. So we flash to the, I guess, cafeteria. Dane walks in and he decides to light up. He's like, he just has a whole different attitude, right? He's no longer that timid, you know, student who initially started. He is just now as much of an asshole as Riven. And so basically Tara and Aisha corner him and basically ask him what was going on with Bloom, and he eventually tells them. So Sky and Bloom are still at the Stones, and they're still, you know, Sky is having a difficult time thinking that Silva would... he's having a difficult time thinking that Silva is a mass murderer. And of course, Bloom is, you know, basically telling him that this is what they did at Asterdale. They, you know, felt that killing the burn ones is more important than the lives of the people that were there. And, you know, at this point, there's talking, and she ends up giving him this flask that she had some coffee or something in it, and he drank from it. And of course, the way he drank from it, you kind of knew something was going to go down. And then he starts talking about his dad, how, you know, his dad was this legend and how he's having a difficult time. It's hard to live up to that. And then, of course, the pressures that Silva's putting on him. And then eventually he starts feeling woozy and he passes out. So we flash to the greenhouse. Marco was there with Ben. Of course, he's doing the same thing that he did with Silva. He's trying to do the best he can to treat the wounds and the symptoms, while the other fighters, specialists are out there trying to find the burn one that scratched him and kill it so that he can recover. Again, Marco was still not concerned. He's like, Nora's out there. She's going to do what needs to be done. Eventually, Nora ends up calling him. She is panicked. She's basically telling him that everybody is dead. At this point, she's injured. And this is when they find out. She makes a run for it. And this is when they find out that it is more than one. And you can kind of see, because they're doing a video chat, when I guess they all jump on her, and you know at this point that Nora is dead, and they're now like, okay, we are now basically under attack, and there could be, I don't know, hundreds of them out there at this point. So after leaving the Stones, Bloom went to the prison where Dane was supposed to be. It was supposed to be his shift, but it was somebody else there. Aisha and Tara, you know, arrived and basically said her that Dane isn't coming, that he told what was going on. And they're trying to figure out, like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you trying to help her? Why are you trying to break her out? You can see that Bloom is... she is frantic. She's talking about how she needs answers and how nobody is trying to help her and how they're all liars. And
Dowling has been lying to me.
Everyone here is lying. You guys don't know what I know.
We did.
You know, Tara's trying to tell her, okay, Beatrice murdered Kellum, and she's a liar as well.
Beatrice is a liar and a murderer.
You're his daughter and you're Dowling's little helper.
And then eventually they basically tell her that she needs to give them the key, or they're going to go to Dowling.
We haven't told anyone what you're doing. And if you just give us the key, we won't.
And she was to the point where she was about to use her powers on them. And they're looking at her. And of course, Tara's like, okay, we're your friends. Like, we're not trying to hurt you. And so she ends up giving them the key. And she walks off. Obviously, at this point, she's not happy. So Aisha and Tara make it back to the dorm room. They're asking Musa, like, did you get our text? You saw Aisha texting her. And they, you know, end up telling her that they got the key from Bloom, how they're going to go to Dowling.
I know I said we wouldn't, but I wonder if we have to tell Dowling. Don't you?
This, you know, the plants start moving again. And Musa was like, you know what? I'm tired of cleaning up after you. You need to come out here and tell them what's going on.
What?
I refuse to keep cleaning them up, so just tell them.
Stella reveals herself. And, you know, she basically tells them that, you know, for some reason with you guys, everything is always black and white. And how Bloom deserves to know where she comes from.
Bloom is a pain in the ass, but she deserves to know who she is.
And we can be right, or we can do what we can do as her friends and help her.
Worry about being right. We can help our friend.
Now, at this point, I'm questioning why Stella is there for real, like her motives. Because at this point, I'm like, everybody is suspect. But why she's pushing this to for her to go and free this Rosalind woman, I don't know. So Dowling is in her office. She receives a text from Silva saying that they're about to suit up and head out, and that he needs her to go with them. Bloom barges in and basically saying that she needs to talk to Rosalind. Of course, Dowling is saying that Rosalind died. Bloom is saying, I know that she's alive. Please don't lie to me again.
I know that she's alive, so don't lie to me again.
And then she asked her about Asterdale. By Dowling's facial expression, she knows the place.
I'm from Asterdale.
And then she tells her the story about how Rosalind was her mentor.
Rosalind was my mentor. The most powerful fairy in Althea.
And, you know, basically how this place was being overrun by burned ones. And, you know, she took them there. They never questioned her because they had so much respect. And she was their leader.
I never doubted her, never questioned her.
She was, you know, like she said, she was her mentor. And this was the first time that, you know, she knew that fairies can combine their powers, which made them 100 times more powerful. But Rosalind knew this. And she knew the outcome of doing this.
Till then, we didn't know fairies could combine their magic.
They were informed that the city had been cleared.
She told us she'd taken pains to evacuate the village.
And basically they were lied to. Again, you know, Dowling's biggest regret is that she didn't question her. She trusted Rosalind. And they did what they did and destroyed the town. Of course, it wasn't until after that they realized that they had been lied to and that the town was still full of women, you know, men, women, and children that were killed. And she basically told Bloom that, you know, whatever, you know, questions you have, I would do what I can to help you find the answers. But I can assure you that nothing that you have that you want to find out is worth unleashing Rosalind back into the world.
Whatever she has to give you is not worth unleashing her back into the world for, Bloom.
And around this time, Silver walked in and basically like, we need to head out. And Dowling left with Silver. Okay, so there are some quick like flashes. You see Beatrice in her cell. She's still fighting with these bracelets, trying to get them off. Sky is just now waking up. Obviously, he's still at the stones. Bloom is sitting by herself. And eventually, Stella, Tara, and Musa walk up and give her the key and tell her that, you know, she deserves to know, you know, where she comes from, who she is. And of course, she noticed that Aisha was missing.
Where's Aisha?
Aisha was not here for it. She's like, Aisha basically stayed behind. She didn't want to have anything to do with breaking Beatrice out. So, of course, Bloom goes in to give Beatrice the key. Now Beatrice is free. Okay, so Ben, Dowling, Silver, and the soldiers are at the barrier. Dowling has been able to amplify whatever the sounds are in the woods, and so they're able to hear the burned ones. They can't see them yet, but they can hear them. Around this time, Aisha walks up and basically saying that I have something I need to tell you.
I'm not looking for extra credit. I'm here because you need to know what's happening.
So you see Aisha's about to spill her guts. So Beatrice takes Stella, Tara, Musa, and Bloom to the secret passage in Dowling's office. And they end up basically doing to her what she did to Cullen when she pushed him through, and I guess it zapped him. It kind of temporarily, I guess it sucked the life out of him. Whatever, I'm still not sure what happened. They basically did the same thing to Beatrice. They went on and shoved her through. And then they started walking down the corridor. They reached the door. Bloom walked in by herself. And then, of course, it flashed to Rosalind. Her eyes opened. She know now that Bloom is there. And that's pretty much how this episode ended. So I'm going to end this here. And I will wrap up Fate, the Winx Saga in my next video.